He always seemed too good to be true. And then, after he was gone, I found out just how much of a lie that was. Mark. That's who he was. My Mark. The man I'd fallen head over heels for, the one who promised me forever, the one who died. A sudden, brutal accident on his motorcycle. One minute he was texting me, laughing about a silly meme, the next, silence. A silence that shattered my world into a million irreparable pieces. The funeral was a blur of black dresses and tear-streaked faces. Everyone spoke of his kindness, his generosity, his unwavering loyalty. His best friend, David, delivered a eulogy that had me sobbing uncontrollably, painting a picture of a saint. I clung to those words, to that perfect image, because it was all I had left. Weeks turned into months. The raw grief dulled, replaced by a persistent ache. I was cleaning out his apartment, a task I'd been dreading, sifting through the remnants of our life together. His side of the closet was still packed with his clothes, smelling faintly of his cologne, that woody, musky scent that used to make my knees weak. I opened his desk drawers, expecting to find old bills, love letters, the mundane debris of a life lived. Instead, my fingers brushed against something hard and metallic. A small, locked wooden box. It wasn't something I recognized. Mark wasn't a sentimental hoarder. He was minimalist, almost aggressively so. Curiosity, a dangerous thing when you're already hurting, prickled at me. I spent an hour rummaging through his toolbox, trying to find a key. Nothing. Frustrated, I grabbed a screwdriver and pried it open. The wood splintered, a small act of violence that felt both wrong and inevitable. Inside, nestled amongst faded photographs and what looked like concert tickets, was a small, leather-bound diary. Not a journal of his daily thoughts, this was different. It was dated. Every entry was meticulous, a narrative of someone else's life. My breath hitched. The handwriting was undeniably Mark's. But the name on the first page wasn't mine. It was Sarah. My hands trembled as I flipped through the pages. The early entries were filled with a blossoming romance, stolen kisses, shared dreams. Sarah's dreams. They were the same dreams Mark had shared with me. The same future he'd painted for us. Then, the tone shifted. The entries became more frantic, laced with fear and desperation. He's pulling away. I don't understand. He's spending so much time with her. Her. Who was her? My stomach twisted into a knot. Could it be? No. It couldn't be. I kept reading, a cold dread seeping into my bones. The dates. The dates were crucial. They overlapped with our dates. Their anniversaries were my birthdays. His romantic getaways were the times he'd told me he was on business trips. He was living a double life. A meticulously crafted, expertly executed double life. There was a photograph tucked into the back of the diary. A smiling woman, younger, her eyes bright with happiness. Sarah. And a man. A man with Mark's eyes, Mark's smile. But he was holding her hand. Not mine. My vision blurred. The room felt suffocating. I sank onto the floor, the splintered box and the damning diary spread out before me like an open wound. The man I loved, the man I was grieving, was a stranger. A ghost who had haunted my life with lies. I found Sarah's contact information in the diary. It felt like holding a lit match over gasoline. Should I? Should I unleash this truth on someone else who was probably just as broken as I was? The thought of her pain, her betrayal, mirrored my own. But the anger, the sheer, unadulterated rage at Mark's deceit was a powerful force. I texted her. It was short, brutal. I think we need to talk. About Mark. And about Sarah. She called me back almost immediately. Her voice was shaky, laced with confusion. Who is this? My name is Emily. I was Mark's girlfriend. The word felt foreign, hollow. There was a long, pregnant pause. Then, a whispered, "Oh God." No. We met the next day at a quiet cafe. Sarah was everything the diary described and more. Her eyes, once bright, were now etched with weariness. She looked at me, and I saw myself reflected in her pain. We sat in silence for a while, the unspoken weight of Mark's deception heavy between us. He told me you were his cousin," she finally whispered, her voice cracking. "His way of keeping things simple. So he wouldn't hurt anyone." I laughed, a harsh, disbelieving sound. "Simple? He built a monument to his lies, Sarah. And we were the unwitting worshippers." We exchanged stories, piecing together the mosaic of his duplicity. He'd met Sarah years before me. He'd been stringing us both along, weaving a tangled web of half-truths and elaborate deceptions. There was no satisfaction in the revelation, only a profound, soul-crushing sorrow. The man I'd loved, the man I'd planned a future with, had been a phantom. He had existed in two worlds, leaving behind a trail of broken hearts in both. David, his best friend, the eulogist, the man who had painted Mark as a saint. I confronted him. He stammered, paled, and finally confessed. He knew. He'd been Mark's confidant, his co-conspirator in the elaborate charade. His betrayal cut deeper than Mark's. It was the betrayal of friendship, of shared grief, of a trusted bond. I don't think I'll ever fully trust again. The experience has left a scar, a constant reminder of how easily we can be fooled, how deeply people can hide their true selves. Mark died, but his lies lived on, a twisted legacy that I, and Sarah, are now left to untangle. We are the custodians of his secret, forever bound by the ghost of the man who promised us forever, and delivered only oblivion.